You didn't click this by accident. Pause. Breathe. If you are here, something inside you has already been touched. Not curiosity, not boredom, hunger. Let me unsettle you. The most dangerous manipulations in your life did not begin with charm. They began with silence, with a delay, with something that almost arrived and then didn't. Right now, there is someone living inside your thoughts without permission. They appear when you are alone. Their absence is louder than their presence, and you mistake this noise for desire. Here is the fracture. Obsession is not created by attraction. It is created by interruption. The human mind does not obsess over pleasure. It obsesses over unfinished business, the message that never came, the conversation that ended too early, the approval that hovered just out of reach. Your nervous system is not confused. It is captured. Understand this with precision. If someone controls when you feel relief, they control when you suffer. And if they control your suffering, they control you. This is not romance. This is not chemistry. This is psychological occupation. You are not thinking about them because they are special. You are thinking about them because your mind was left open, like a door that never closed during a storm. Here is the threat. Obsession feels like fate while it is happening. You call it connection, energy, a pull. But underneath those words is a brutal mechanism, your brain demanding closure at any cost. Once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You will notice who withholds, who destabilizes, who leaves you slightly unbalanced. And you will realize something disturbing. Some people do not want your love. They want your attention in a cage. Stay with me, because next I reveal the first architect of obsession, the one who uses absence as a weapon.
They never attack you directly. They retreat. And that is what makes them lethal. The first architect of obsession is not loud, not dominant, not aggressive. They are quiet, measured, unavailable at precisely the wrong moments. They are the one who gives you just enough, then vanishes. Here is the rule your body obeys whether you like it or not. What is scarce is interpreted as valuable. What is withheld is interpreted as important. This person understands that instinctively or weaponizes it deliberately. They answer warmly once, then coldly, then not at all. They show interest, then create distance, and your mind begins to work against you. You replay conversations, you rewrite memories, you search for mistakes that never happened, because the absence hurts more than rejection ever could. This is where obsession is born, not in pleasure, in deprivation. Your nervous system starts bargaining. If I say it differently, if I wait longer, if I prove my value. And without realizing it, you are no longer choosing, you are chasing relief. Here is the twist most people never see. What feels like mystery is often engineered neglect. They are not deep, they are not complex, they are strategic. They disappear to let your imagination do the work for them, because imagination is more powerful than reality. And now listen carefully, because this is where people lose themselves. The moment you begin to tolerate emotional starvation, your standards collapse. You accept crumbs. You celebrate scraps. You call anxiety excitement. That is the cage closing. So how do you survive this without becoming bitter or cruel? You do not confront. You do not plead. You do not explain. You regulate access. You respond slowly. You reduce emotional availability. You stop rewarding inconsistency with attention. And if the pattern continues, you disengage completely. No closure speeches, no dramatic exits. Absence is their weapon, so silence becomes your shield. Because the one thing the withholder cannot survive is losing their audience. Stay alert, because the next archetype is far more dangerous. They don't disappear, they become you.
They don't chase you, they study you. The second archetype of obsession never withholds attention. They flood you with it, but not with who they are, with who you are. They listen too closely. They remember everything, your childhood wound, your private fears, the words you use when you feel understood. And then something intoxicating happens. They reflect you back to yourself, cleaner, sharper, more alive. Same values, same humor, same pain. You think, finally, someone sees me. But here is the incision. You are not being understood. You are being mapped. This archetype uses resonance as a weapon. Psychologists call it mirroring. Machiavelli would call it infiltration, because similarity creates trust faster than honesty ever could. Your nervous system relaxes, your defenses lower, you reveal more, and the bond deepens at unnatural speed. That speed is the warning. Real connection unfolds slowly. Mirrored connection accelerates violently. Here is the twist most people miss. When someone mirrors you perfectly, you stop checking who they actually are. You confuse recognition with destiny. And slowly, your identity starts orbiting theirs. You adjust your tone, your opinions soften, your boundaries blur, because losing them would feel like losing yourself. That is the trap. So how do you survive the mirror? You test for friction. Introduce a value they don't expect. Change a rhythm. Set a boundary without explanation. Watch closely. A real person adapts. A mirror destabilizes. They grow cold, confused, irritated, because you broke the reflection. And now, the defense. Stop oversharing early. Delay intimacy. Keep parts of yourself unspoken. Identity is power. Information is currency. And never forget this. Anyone who feels too familiar too fast is not fate. They are a shortcut. And shortcuts in psychology always lead somewhere dangerous. Stay with me, because the next archetype doesn't copy you. They addict you. They give, then take. They warm you, then leave you cold. They are not cruel by accident. They are precise. The third architect of obsession is the intermittent rewarder. Their weapon is unpredictability. Their playground is your nervous system. One moment you are celebrated, praised, desired. The next, silence, distance, doubt. Your mind begins to chase patterns that don't exist. You analyze every word, every pause, every glance. You replay interactions endlessly, searching for the signal in the chaos. This is where dopamine becomes a leash. Your pleasure system isn't bonding with them. It is bonding with uncertainty, with unpredictability, with the hope that the next reward will be better than the last. Here is the mid-module revelation you need to feel. Addiction does not require drugs.
Addiction requires irregular reinforcement, and humans are wired to tolerate punishment if reward might arrive at any moment. You begin to rationalize. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe next time will be different. Your attention is paid in full. Your control is surrendered completely. How do you defend yourself without becoming the monster they fear? You apply the gray rock. Respond minimally. Do not chase the highs. Recognize the cycle before it loops. Set your boundaries before they are erased by your own anticipation. And if the pattern continues, step back. Withdraw strategically. Let them confront the emptiness they created, because uncertainty is their weapon, and only detachment is your shield. Remember this: the intermittent rewarder thrives in your craving. Starve the craving, and you reclaim your freedom. Stay close, because the next architect doesn't just manipulate desire, they wield guilt.
They never hit you with a fist. They strike at your conscience. The fourth architect of obsession is the moral superior. Their weapon is shame. Their battlefield is your soul. They don't scream. They don't threaten. They simply look disappointed. A pause, a subtle sigh, a judgment hidden behind civility. And suddenly, you are on trial. Your choices, your words, your thoughts, all measured against their invisible standard. Here is the cruel precision. Shame is a leash disguised as virtue. You obey because breaking it would make you feel wrong, guilty, unworthy, exiled from their moral universe, and your mind begins to twist. You replay past actions, you anticipate future mistakes, you apologize for thoughts you haven't even had. Here is the mid-module revelation. The moral superior does not want your confession. They want your compliance, your attention, your surrender. Your internal moral compass becomes theirs. How do you survive them without becoming cruel yourself? First, recognize the trap. Not every judgment is yours to carry. Not every silence is a condemnation. Second, assert your values silently but firmly. Refuse false guilt. Do not explain endlessly. Do not beg for approval that is never freely given. Finally, cultivate strategic indifference. You will feel the pull to appease them. Resist it. Their power relies on your moral anxiety. Remember this: guilt is contagious, but only if you let it take root. Stand firm, and when the moral superior leans in with judgment, your calm becomes your armor. Stay with me, because the next architect doesn't just manipulate guilt, they create crises and make you dependent on them for survival. They thrive in chaos. They create storms where none existed. The fifth architect of obsession is the crisis creator. Their weapon is intensity. Their playground is your survival instinct. They don't ask for attention, they demand it. A sudden emergency, a manufactured enemy, a life-altering decision presented as urgent, and your mind snaps into action. Your focus narrows, your defenses drop, your heart races. Because in crisis, the bond feels unbreakable. The shared adrenaline, the us against the world illusion, it feels like intimacy. Here is the mid-module revelation. Intensity is not connection. It is manipulation disguised as devotion. When someone engineers emergencies, they are not inviting you closer, they are binding you. Your nervous system begins to confuse fear with desire, your loyalty with dependence, your judgment with instinct.
How do you survive a crisis creator? First, slow down. Do not rush into their manufactured urgency. Assess, analyze, check reality outside the storm. Second, establish external anchors. Talk to someone outside the narrative. Question the emergency before reacting. Third, control your tempo. Do not match their intensity. Respond on your terms, not theirs. Because if you allow them to control your reactions, you surrender power silently, and obsession tightens its grip. Remember, crises fade. Your attention should not. Detach strategically. Observe, and let their manufactured storms crash harmlessly against your calm. Stay alert, because the final architect doesn't attack while present. They haunt you in absence. They vanish. Not permanently, not completely, but enough to make your mind ache. The sixth architect of obsession is the phantom. Their weapon is the unfinished loop. Their playground is your imagination. They disappear without explanation. They leave questions unanswered, moments unresolved, and your brain cannot ignore it. It hunts for closure. It invents scenarios. It tortures you with possibilities. Here is the mid-module revelation. The mind hates open loops more than it fears pain. Unfinished stories are electric. They trigger obsession in ways presence never could. You are no longer chasing them. They are haunting your own thoughts. Every sudden silence becomes a siren. Every gap in communication, a vacuum pulling at your attention. Every maybe becomes unbearable. How do you survive a phantom? First, create closure for yourself. Write the narrative. Define the ending. Do not wait for them to return and validate your reality. Second, seal cognitive gaps. Reframe uncertainty as choice, not punishment. Do not leave space for imagination to be weaponized against you. Third, reclaim your mental territory. Occupy your mind fully with your own life. Do not allow absence to dominate presence. Because obsession is born in emptiness, and emptiness is only dangerous if you feed it. Remember this, a phantom's power lies not in being present, but in being unforgettable precisely because they are absent. Master the loop or remain trapped inside it. Stay with me, because now you are ready for the ultimate truth, the one principle that makes obsession easier to create than love itself. This is the truth they do not want you to see. Obsession is easier to create than love. Love requires wholeness. Obsession only requires fracture. Think carefully. Love asks you to see a person fully, to accept them, flaws, chaos, and all. It asks patience, understanding, time. Obsession asks nothing. It only demands incompleteness. Every withheld word, every mirrored smile, every intermittent reward, every crisis and every unanswered question, these fractures lure the mind like moths to flame. Here is the final revelation. You do not need magic. You do not need extraordinary charm. You need scarcity. You need unpredictability. You need tension. You need absence. You need manipulation. And when these forces align, the mind becomes captive. Attention becomes addiction. Yearning becomes obsession. Now, consider this. Anyone can do this. Even the people you trust the most. Even the people who claim to love you. Even yourself. The predator is often invisible. The cage is often invisible. And yet you can feel it closing. The choice is yours. Will you become the predator, the prey, or the sovereign mind that recognizes the pattern and refuses to fall into it. Remember this. Once you understand the mechanics, you cannot unknow them. You will see the withholder in your colleagues, the mirror in your lovers, the intermittent rewarder in your friendships, the moral superior, the crisis creator, the phantom, everywhere. The ultimate power is to watch without being caught, to understand without surrendering, to remain free while the world obsesses around you. Take this knowledge and wield it wisely, because obsession is not a game. It is survival, it is domination, and it begins in your own mind. Stay with me, because now you are awake. You thought it ended. It has only just begun. This is the final module, the apex of understanding, the forbidden knowledge that few can hold without breaking. Obsession does not obey morality. It does not respect loyalty, friendship, or love. It obeys fracture, attention, control, and now you see it for what it is, a machine, a dark, precise psychological engine. Every withholder, mirror, intermittent rewarder, moral superior, crisis creator, phantom, all cogs spinning in a single mechanism, to occupy the mind, to bend attention, to command emotion. Here is the ultimate revelation. Once you understand the architecture, you have two choices. You can become prey, to wander endlessly through the loops, the absences, the engineered crises, to chase, to rationalize, to ache, to feed the machine with your own attention. Or you can become sovereign, to watch the patterns unfold without being trapped, to recognize manipulation before it strikes, to reclaim your nervous system, your focus, your life. And the first step of sovereignty is silence, observation, detachment. Not cruelty, not revenge, but freedom. Because the world will always try to steal your attention. It will engineer obsession around you. It will test you, unsettle you, haunt you. The difference between predator and prey is knowing the trap exists and refusing to step inside it. Remember this, the knowledge you now hold is dangerous, not because it corrupts others, but because it reveals the fractures in yourself. Do not let the machine run on you. Control your attention, guard your mind, and let obsession exist only outside your walls. You are awake. You are alert. You are sovereign. And that is the only power that cannot be taken.